Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is January 28th, and we're doing business and social stories, to middle year week.
Mid.
Decidedly mid.
Yeah, we've seen this exact headline before. I think it was a different company, but every time some big company does this, you see this headline.
Staffers unload on Amazon quote-unquote leadership after the return to office mandate for lack of parking and a desk shortage. So a lot of people in this economy are like, I'm happy to have my job. I guess if I have to go back to work, I will. So they did show up for the return to office mandate, except the offices weren't large enough and there was no parking. And I think that this warrants an investigation because clearly Amazon expected people not to show up for the return to office so they could be fired. And then when more people than expected showed up.
Who's going to investigate this? Because aren't they doing this at the federal level now, too? I mean,
They underestimated how desperate people are.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing here is that they said that crime inside the buildings was way up. People were stealing. That shows a bit of desperation. Also, some people got on social media and said, I came back to the office today, and so far my day has been 3 video conferences.
For customers that are somewhere else. Yeah, that was great. I stumbled in looking at this one and some of the stuff on Reddit. There's threads where they talk about this, and my favorite one is somebody that works in Amazon somewhere hasn't bought toilet paper in 5 years. Like they just.
It was like me in college.
They're like, aren't they like the 1 foot in diameter, whatever? And he's like, oh yeah, here's the 3D printable files that I used to make a holder for this in my bathroom. And it's like, I haven't bought toilet paper in 5 years.
Oh, because they bought a lot of it.
No, because they stole it from Amazon.
Yeah, they're just taking it. Yeah,
but it's commercial, so
that's not. If it's the giant rolls up, it's not great quality toilet paper, but I mean,
but free.
Yeah.
And then there were other pictures. It's like, I don't want to post too many pictures of the other stuff that I've stolen from Amazon, but he's like, there's a lot of stuff that was in my weekly grocery list that is now not, thanks to Amazon.
You can get coffee creamers. You get sugar.
All the toiletries, napkins, silverware.
Here's a question. When you go to a restaurant, do you take the packets on the table?
Not usually, no.
I usually take a couple. Or like if I go someplace that has jams, I'll usually take a couple.
Yeah, Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Those little, because I don't know if they're going to reuse those. I hope they don't, right? Because I don't know what the other people have done to them.
They almost certainly do, I would think.
I think
they have like a big pot full of jam.
It's your civic duty to take those, to protect the other diners. I think.
When I stayed at a hotel when we went down to Mammoth Cave, they had like, the breakfast bar, and I took Nutella packets, I took salsa packets, I took mayos. I was like, I'm going to use these for hiking season.
I mean, you did probably pay for.
Yeah, I'm getting my money's worth.
Well, it seems the younger people are also, they're in this spirit of sticking it to the man, right? To destroy the corporate power. And this one's actually kind of fun.
Gen Z is quote-unquote career catfishing in power move to irk corporate employers, including when they're hired, they just don't show up for the first day of work to be like, hey, this is a job. This is not my life. I just want to make that clear.
But I didn't understand, are they showing up for the second day of work?
It sounded like sometimes they do, but sometimes they did that to just mess with them.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out because it makes more sense if you just never show up, right?
Yeah.
But how much of that is going to follow you?
Not in this article, but in the other version of this article, the comments below said that I want to find out how serious the employer is about having like how disposable I am as a person. So if I go through the process, especially if I'm interviewed a couple of times, I just don't show up for the first day of work. And if I'm immediately fired, I know that I was disposable. And I don't want to feel like I feel like if I had a reasonable explanation that they would keep me employed. And they would be a better employer because of that.
I don't know. That's always going to play out to be the truth.
Yeah. If you're just wanting to mess with people, you could use a fake name.
Yeah.
Probably not, right? Because they're going to do a background check.
It's only a matter of time, though, before these companies is like, you have a background check, you don't have a criminal thing, but then businesses have like background check us, where all that's consolidated, and it's like, oh, I see that Amazon has added a note to your file that
national public data.
Yeah,
they're going to have it, or whoever replaces them is going to have it. And speaking of being poor, you'll never get one of these.
Nvidia GeForce RTX 5090 review, brutally fast, but DLSS 4 is the game changer because DLSS 4 is going to give you upscaling and DLSS frame generation, and that is what makes this card run Cyberpunk at 400 FPS is the frame generation. Not because it's actually that fast.
But it is faster.
Yeah, it is. It's like 30 to 50% faster. Depends on the game. Now, if you're playing at like 1080p, if you wanted to play like 400 FPS at 1080p, it doesn't scale all that great, but like 4K is good.
Very hot too.
600 watts. I mean, but it's 2 slots, so it's smaller than a 4090, but it's better at dissipating the heat into your room. So it's kind of like
In these frigid times we're having, you should be thankful.
Yeah, but in July that works.
That's gonna be
against
miserable.
you. That kind of sucks. And pour one out. F's in the chat for an entire media, which is weird because like this is in Japan, right? But Japan seems to be really still on physical media.
yeah.
Where
I think they do other places.
I think this is all about intellectual property. After 18 years, Sony's recordable Blu-ray media production draws to a close, and they're going to shut down the last factory in February.
for recordable Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I think they're still making the discs, but not for.
It is
Like,
maybe
write your
not
own.
the best storage for your own personal stuff these days.
I tried reading a CD that I had burned a million years ago, and it exploded.
Yeah, that organic stuff. You ever like get one and like get a piece of food or something on it behind a couch and it grows inside
Yeah.
the plates?
Yeah.
That was cool technology, but it doesn't hold up. Neither did VHS, actually. Well, Intel is they're trying to do something. They're trying to make a radical change. I don't know how much this is going to catch on.
Intel pitches modular PC designs to make repairs less painful. Isn't it already modular? I mean, but what they're talking about here is small form factor. Basically, a little bit more overlap between laptops and desktops, I suspect.
And the register also points out that the framework laptops are already doing this, so
Yeah.
it's not really revolutionary. Desktop, I already feel pretty good about the modular part of that.
The coolest thing that I saw from CES was the USB-C ports. You get a Dell laptop, and like the users always destroy the USB-C ports. 2 Phillips screws and the USB-C ports fall out, and you can put in a standard USB-C port with 2 screws. That is fantastic.
That is nice. And technology, it's more sensitive than it used to be, for sure, right? But never more than at the fab level, where just the delicacy, the precision that you have to have at those levels. How much more can we actually go here?
Earthquake may have affected 20,000 TSMC wafers. The majority will likely have to be scrapped. Fortunately, that's less than 1 day's output. Good Lord, TSMC. But yeah.
Now, it's
Still
not.
sucks.
It's not because it was shaken. It's not like a CD skipping. It's because once they get the earthquake warning, they have to turn everything off, and that's it. You can't just start back up. It's done at that point.
Meanwhile, TSMC Arizona would just kept right on plugging during that whole adventure.
Well, they probably wouldn't have quite the same seismic activity in Arizona either.
But then there's that whole water question.
Yeah, big question.
And another big question is where all the power is going to come from. And all of a sudden, we're ready. We're ready for everything.
South Carolina to reboot their giant nuclear project to meet AI demand. This is 2 reactors that were originally supposed to come online in 2019. They were mothballed in 2017 because our leaders were morons at that time.
Well, one of the companies went out of business.
Yeah, but I mean, it was basically 2 years from operation, and it's like, oops. And just nobody had the vision. It's like, oh, we're just using less power every year. We shouldn't follow through with this because we're short-sighted and really dumb. And now they're like, oh, electricity is 2-3 times more expensive than it was. We should probably finish these.
It's all about the data centers.
It is, yeah. AI is.
Yeah, it's not about us or like humans using power. It's AI.
But some people, and maybe not even people, can benefit from this in ways that you might not expect. The energy revolution.
Solar farms are booming in the U.S. and putting thousands of hungry sheep to work because the sheep are going to eat the weeds around the solar panels because it's really hard to get equipment in there to weed them.
So there's actually a business model where you just get sheeps and take them to different places and watch them, I guess.
Surprised it's not goats. Around here, people do goats. Like a lot of my neighbors will be like, "Oh, if you need something cleared, come let me graze my goats on your land in a section."
I think goats are like really nasty to deal with.
Yeah.
They're super aggressive.
Yeah.
At least all the ones I've known.
Not necessarily aggressive, just ill-tempered.
Also, apparently, baby goats there's a high mortality rate.
Really?
Yeah, they're not very hardy at a young age.
They're going to learn what they can and cannot eat.
Maybe that's why they're so mean. Survival of the fittest if you're a goat.
And here's a story that we see so often. When it's ice cream, not that big a deal. But here, a little more of an eyebrow raise.
medical device companies suddenly stops hospitals from fixing machines themselves. So up till now, the deal had been, hey, we'll train your technicians, your hospital technicians, on how to repair a machine, check and see if you need a service technician, but mostly you can do the maintenance yourselves. And so this the machine company is saying, wait a minute, no, we're not making enough money on this. We're going to stop this. You have to have our technicians do everything. Because that's how it is with vehicles and tractors and McDonald's ice cream machines, as you were hinting
And software.
This
We
is
all
a
gotta follow the
machine
software model.
that, like, when they're working on your heart, it reroutes the blood. So it, like, bypasses the heart and keeps your blood flowing. So it's critical. If it breaks during the surgery, you're going to die. And that's the argument that they give is like, oh, this is too important to let your people repair it. But they have been doing that.
And
Yeah, so it's like, is there negligence there? Are you admitting fault?
And these machines are also designed to be insanely reliable. So the hospital administrator for this article said that those machines historically have required very little maintenance because they are so well built.
And-
Not now. We're going to really save some costs by cutting corners on things like screws for those machines.
You really worry about those kinds of things.
Yeah. I worry anytime someone cuts my chest open.
I'm really just worried all the time about everything.
Well, here's one thing that you don't have to worry about, Chris, about Wendell might be in some danger here.
Google owned Fitbit to pay $12.2 million after consumers were burned by smartwatches.
Not because they were a bad value, not an economic burn, literal lithium battery burns.
Yeah. Mine might not. It's the Garmin, and I have to charge it about once every 5 days, which actually is really good for the lifetime of the lithium battery. The ones where it's like a lithium battery you charge daily, that's a little bit more dangerous because it's the charge-discharge cycles that cause wear and can cause problems with the cells.
Those tendrils. Now, the other problem with this, it wasn't just that they might have overheated a little bit, but also that Google chose not to tell anybody about it.
We don't want anybody to overreact. It's like, maybe you should warn the customers that own these. Nah, don't worry about it.
Overreact. What a great lead-in.
China's artificial sun sets nuclear fusion record runs for 1,006 seconds at 180 million degrees Fahrenheit. That is a world record, I think.
Yes.
And this is the tokamak. This is like the stellarator design. And the software and like complication in like keeping the reaction going, it requires constant adjustment. We've finally crossed the threshold of software and hardware that is able to do this. But it's also kind of wild that we're getting some fusion reactors here in the U.S. after decades of, fusion's just right around the corner. The timing is really suspect with the power demands from AI.
So that's 1,000 seconds, and theoretically, if we hit like 2,000 to 3,000 seconds, that's when it becomes a self-sustaining reaction, which would be basically unlimited energy. Unlimited energy for the robots.
Yeah, I was like,
You're not allowed to be comfortable in your own home. That's not we have to arrange it so that you pay through the nose for that. Just like your ISP is like, a kilobyte of data. It's like that should not be getting cheaper over time. That should be getting more expensive over time, like everything else. And it's like, disagree.
Well, you might be able to get some small comforts in your own home, but it's going to cost you, and it's always going to cost more.
Netflix is raising prices after reporting its biggest ever subscriber jump. People are jumping to Netflix because the alternatives have gotten worse, but we really need to do some videos on like alternatives. Do you know Linus's video got taken down?
Yeah, I was going to say, we can't do that.
That was crazy.
That's not crazy. That's just status quo.
But like that level of platform control, it's like we're already a boiled frog, chat. We just didn't realize.
Oh, yeah. We're just frog meat at this point.
Join our Patreon at patreon.com/
until we get shut off there, too.
And not only will you get new things, but you don't have a choice. You're going to get them. If you don't want to be a part of the AI revolution, well, too bad.
macOS Sequoia 15.3 and iOS 18.3 enable Apple Intelligence automatically. Just like Copilot.
Boy, all that electricity, right? We're just throwing it away, huh? People don't even want it. We're giving it to. We're stuffing it down their throat.
Have you used Rufus yet?
No.
It doesn't even matter about the electricity. It's like it's the data. It's like, don't you need more access to my data in order to do this? Yes. Your data, our data.
Please use our AI chatbots.
Wait, our data? What? That's my data. No, Apple's data. Well, no, that was my data.
You made this. I made this.
It all belongs to the AI, and the AI needs it so that they can create the distractions that will keep us distracted from them stealing everything else.
Game developers are getting fed up with their boss's AI initiatives. After reading this article, I was thinking, remember the IT crowd scene where Renholm Sr. is like, we're going to declare war on stress. Anybody who's still stressed at the end of the day will be fired. That was this article, basically, in AI form. It's like, we're going to do this with AI, and it's going to be amazing. And everybody is just like, we've tried it. Like, listen, we are all for making our suffering less at work. And if AI will do that, that's great. But it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, they pointed out all the people that they talked to in the game industry was like, I've been laid off 4 times this year. They actually interviewed one guy. He was like, I worked on that AI, and I'm sorry. I didn't realize. But how do you not realize?
How do you not? Yeah.
You work on it because you realize exactly what its capabilities are, and then you have to deal with people that misunderstand its capabilities, that fire people, and then everything works fine for a little while because you get the inertia, and then the boss realizes, wait, stuff's not getting done.
You never fire your IT wizard. They know where the bodies are buried.
Then you have a mess.
It's a classic blunder.
And here's one situation where I imagine AI will be making most of the content soon. But it is one thing that people just will not accept being taken from them.
Florida demand for VPN surges by 1,150% after Florida has banned adult websites effectively.
A lot of states did that, but Florida is number 1 in VPN usage afterwards. And Apple, wow, really looking to upset the young people with this one, don't you think? Because if you're already in, you're in. But if you're looking to join the revolution, you can't.
Apple won't return to TikTok and to the App Store until it's sold to a U.S. buyer.
Do you think they're going to put an offer in on TikTok?
Now they say that this is the right thing to do and it's the moral and ethical way to do this, but they did remove the VPN applications from countries where you probably would really like to have a VPN. So anytime Apple's doing something for ethical reasons, I'm very, very skeptical.
Especially when it's kind of pointless, right? I
mean,
yeah. And also, what are they telling the people who already have it installed?
I don't know if this is true or not, but one of the commenters on the story said that they're in Canada and they can still install it from the App Store. And it's just like, I guess if you're Canadian, Apple's just like, well, we don't care about you.
Or if you're an existing user.
Yeah, well.
Like, we need to protect people from this, but not you.
I mean, I could kind of see that Apple is saying it's like it's verboten to reach into your device and take something off of it that you already had. Like that maybe does cross a line, but then saying that and then also not caring about our northerly neighbors is like.
Well, here's a piece of software that's getting an AI feature that, I don't know, might be useful, but they always have to try to find some new novel way to utilize it and eat up more of that power.
Adobe Premiere Pro now lets you find video clips by describing them. The media intelligence caption translations are launching alongside new playback features for After Effects. I'm sure that they're probably also using these for some kind of training as well.
Well, it has to look at those videos, right?
Yeah.
And then it's going to use that for training data. And then you're going to conveniently tell it some keywords.
Someone I know made me aware of an Adobe fumble where they accidentally emailed a bunch of account holders and it was not BCC, it was CC, and it was just like, oh. Adobe is just so terrible. They're just so...
They've gotten worse.
Yeah.
Like, even just using Acrobat to, look at a PDF, it's constantly popping up with, do you want to try this AI tool? Do you want to try this one? Do you want me to summarize this? And I'm like, I just want to read the PDF.
But they're laying off everybody that can be replaced by AI, right? And that only leaves, the marketing people and the people who think all that stuff's a good idea and don't know the difference between blind carbon and regular carbon. And here is, I don't know why you guys thought that Ticketmaster was bad, because clearly this argument absolves them from everything. They are saving us from high prices.
Ticketmaster argues the competition would cost fans more money in their antitrust suit. So saying, hey, you've absorbed venues and tickets and everything else. And Ticketmaster says, well, it's going to be like, you remember Bell, the Bell companies? When you broke up Bell, it was worse eventually. It's going to be like that with us, so leave us alone or else.
They interviewed some economist, and he was like, well, supply and demand and monopoly, I think those are pretty bedrock concepts that tell you competition always lowers prices. That's how that works. Is Trump taller than Zuckerberg? I didn't realize that.
Maybe he wears platforms.
I'd say they both could, right? That wouldn't surprise me either way. But yes, Meta, the censorship, like I said in the previous episode, the pendulum has swung the other way. It's not really changed in terms of how much censorship.
This TechSpot article is amazing.
The brand of censorship.
TechSpot says Meta denies forcing accounts to follow Donald Trump, and they claim that hiding Democrat hashtags was a bug.
How many times did we see that exact same headline
Yeah.
the other way around?
It's like, oops, and it's like the subheadline here is users aren't convinced. If you only read one article this week, you should read this TechSpot article because it's just example after example. It's like, this is an odd sequence of bugs, don't you think?
But we saw this.
Yeah.
And it was just the other way around, and it's so obvious. And now this is NewsGuard who's giving us these numbers, which means they are the ones that were literally fired from their job, and they've repeatedly shown themselves to be untrustworthy. But there probably is kind of some truth here.
The headline is Meta's fact-checking program failed to spot most disinformation. And the test stuff that they used to test if it would be picked up as disinformation was really, really cherry-picked.
And what NewsGuard considers to be disinformation.
Things like the speed of light is 2.9773.
Well, also, isn't their whole strategy just filling it full of AI garbage? Hasn't Mark Zuckerberg said that's what they want to do? I mean,
They've been very public about that.
yeah, working as intended, sounds like.
I feel like we've seen this before. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
I guess it's had another second coming, and apparently Mark Zuckerberg himself commented somehow on this. But it is a great picture.
AI generated challahorse takes Polish internet by storm after some users think it's genuine. Gosh, that does look delicious, doesn't it?
Can you imagine just tearing into that?
I mean, there's that guy that is on YouTube that makes everything out of chocolate, like the giant dragon sculptures and the chocolate strawberry looked incredible. So I mean, this is not that unbelievable.
Give me a 5-gallon bucket of garlic butter and just put me in a room with that guy. Where would you start? Ears, feet?
I would probably try to cherry pick one of like looking it over for the most perfectly golden brown area.
I feel like the cheek.
You know how you get like a croissant or something, and like one part of the croissant is like the perfectly browned, crispy. Like that's the perfect spot.
Well, Instagram is adding some new rules over in Korea.
Instagram to restrict Korean teenagers' screen time starting today.
So you get a warning after you've been on it for an hour. And then at a certain time, I think it was 7 p.m., it's just down. 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's not too bad. And then once you turn 17, you can turn that off by yourself. But before that, your parents can turn it off for you. How many kids are going to nag their parents into that? That's worse than the
Almost all of
McDonald's
them.
nag, right?
Yeah. We got food at home.
And people do everything on social media these days, including many things that they should actually do IRL.
Don't report fires on Facebook, says fire chief.
This is just the bit where he's sending an email about getting the fire.
Dear sir, stroke madam, fire! Exclamation point.
So people are posting, they see a fire, and they want to get that Facebook clout, so they put it on Facebook before they call anybody, and sometimes they don't call anybody. And RedNote was the big TikTok competitor that was going to inherit all those users. I imagine this week their user engagement was down quite a bit. But they are still getting English speakers in there, and they don't know what to do about it.
RedNote scrambles to hire English-speaking content moderators.
Can't they just have the AI do that?
Because everyone has fled there.
Doesn't pay much. You make between $600 and $1,000 a month. But in China, I think that's not that bad. It's probably like the Facebook one, though. Like you're really just reading horrible stuff all day long.
Yeah.
And we have a new social movement on Reddit. You remember the last social movement on Reddit? They shut that down and made sure it could never happen again. But they're happy about this one.
More than 50 subreddits banned X links to protest Elon Musk. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. It's like, why didn't the Reddit people just say, no, this is not, you don't control this? That's weird.
Well, because that's a direct competitor. Of course not.
Yeah, they have everything to gain from it. But yeah, I would say, okay, let's do this, and let's make every paywall news site banned as well. Oh my God.
Some do that. Some subreddits do.
No Bloomberg links ever until they undo that. That's my proposal.
I think Real News doesn't let you do paywall links. You have to post an alternative.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And we kind of already covered this one.
TikTok restores a service for U.S. users based on Trump's promised executive order. Yeah, this is the oldest news of the week, but there it is.
But it's not back. It's just sort of in that limbo. But if they were to take it away now, that would really upset the youth. I don't think they can do that politically.
We got 75 days to figure it out what they're going to do.
Sure, we'll see news story after news story in that timeline. We took almost exactly... You know what? This was the most balanced number of stories per day we've ever had.
Yeah.
25, 26, 26.
January was kind of
Satisfying.
slow for news, except for the whole, like, whatever's going on in the U.S.
Yes.
Which is, like, not really a lot of news. It's just a lot of screeching.
Isn't it always?
It's not great.
And GPU launches. Actually, we're getting ready to heat up. So, like, February, March, it's going to be, like, crazy hardware launches. Probably going to be a lot of fun.
We'll screech about it.
We all screech for ice cream. Bye.